Okay.
Okay.
Fun stuff.
Okay, we are going to call the Parks meeting to order at 5:03. Today, can we have a roll call, please?
Colleen,
Here.
Tracy, Danette,
Here.
Paula,
Here.
Paul.
Yeah.
And then Mike Lund and myself right here.
Okay, very good. We could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I see we have some comment to make.
Yeah.
Yep, please step up to the microphone, state your name and your address, please.
Two at a time, we're here at the same reason.
Yeah, just as long as we have your name and address for both of you,
Okay.
if you're both gonna speak, yeah.
I am Terry Peckinpah and my address is W 248 North 7250 Michael Road.
Okay.
Sue Smith, my address is N73 W 25091 Howard Lane.
Okay.
Great, and we heard that because we know that you were having some discussion about your long-term plan for parks and we're pickleball players. And we're here to add any discussion regarding pickleball courts in Lisbon parks. Obviously, it's becoming very popular with people of all ages. It's a very social game. All people enjoy playing together, ages, skill levels. If you go and watch people play, you'll see, children, teenagers, senior citizens. And it's a great community type of game to play, very social. And one of my ideas, I know obviously location. And it's really important, I think, to consider the neighborhood, not having it, probably aware of other problems like in Sussex where, people, pickleball courts in neighborhoods, the noise is an issue. So I was biking through the bug lane the other day and went up to Lisbon Community Park and I see we have the skating rink. In that nice area that's away from homes. There's a nice parking lot there and a shelter. That's one area, I would consider. I guess it's just that something that we realize many surrounding communities already have pickleball courts, and if you go to these, you'll see they're very busy. It's hard to get onto the courts. It's hard to get time to play and, so I'd definitely like to see if it's gonna add this to our long range plan.
I second everything she said, plus I've seen that tennis for a while was very popular, and I think this has overtaken tennis by a lot. It encompasses all age groups, like she said. You can go to the Sussex Park, which put in a multi-court facility, which is 4 pickleball courts and several basketball courts. I would not recommend doing that just because pickleball has gotten so incredibly popular that there's sometimes an hour wait for these 4 courts on any given night. Basketball is just another hindrance to that. It's, either one or the other. I would also suggest even this location right here for pickleball courts. You're not right next to any homes. The only thing I found that the Melinda Weaver courts have houses butting right up to the courts. So then I can see that maybe they aren't happy with late play there, late at night, because you hear the wiffle balls being hit. Other than that, it's really a nice experience for people. They want to be able to go in their own community and play. Sussex Rec does have leagues you can join, and we pay a little more being non-residents, even though we are Sussex, mailing address. But it'd be nice to have our own in our own town that are open, possibly even consider doing leagues for people. And it might be some source of income for the town. Anyway, it's a very popular sport, like I said, and I think it would be in high demand.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Yeah.
My name is Paul Armington. I live at West 271 North 7559 Oakwood Court. And I'm here as a taxpayer in the town of the village of Lisbon here. And I'm really been taken back quite a bit by some recent proposals that's been going through the park committee and onto the board. And that is the cost of this baseball diamond. Now, I know the park committee has been working for the last 5 years on this long-range plan that's here. We started in 2019 on this long-range plan. And it has a definite roadmap of what the village wanted. This was approved unanimously by the town board in 2021. And the problem that I had after listening to the village board meeting is we have a project that's about $225,000 to develop this baseball diamond. And I'm in the park every single day. And I have been for about the last 20 years that I've lived next to the park. And there has never been any discussion with the people that I interact with at the park about a baseball diamond. There's 2 things that they really dislike about our Lisbon parks. One is the pit toilets. Every day there's mothers with children that come. They have to use the pit toilets. There's dog walkers who use the pit toilets. The people who come off the bug line and they want to refresh themselves. There's no place to really refresh or clean up. There's virtually little running water in any of our parks, especially what we have to offer at Lisbon, which is the crown jewel park that we have. And I would like there to be a real examination and follow the long-range plan. That's why I appreciate.
Oh,
you
this way,
folks
this
coming
way.
To present it. And it
This
should be
Paul,
part of-
you need to address us, please.
Well, I appreciate the pickleball people coming to present it, to put it on the plan and see where we can work it in, where it'll best fit. And I know this baseball program, it started at Lisbon or at Lisbon Oaks Park.
Mhm.
And somehow it got flipped. I don't know how it got flipped, but it went from a community-based, very small dollar figure to upgrade Lisbon Oaks, and it can be done. I pulled a tape out there. We've got 60 feet baselines, which are recreation baseball. And we've got 5 parks already in Lisbon with baseball diamonds. You can easily go to a 65 and a 70-foot and still be on the ground on the dirt of the infield. Now, I walked out from home plate to the tennis courts. We're 270 feet roughly to the tennis courts. Lisbon Community Park, they proposed a baseball diamond with 245 feet, smaller than what would fit in the current spot. But if the village really wants to build a baseball diamond, they should consider putting an additional baseball diamond at Lisbon Oaks. Take the soccer field that's there. They can move that to community parks because that can be chalked at any time. And there's a much better location at Lisbon Oaks where the soccer field is. This has never been discussed in the park committee. There was virtually no discussion given in the village board meeting. And I know my time is limited, but as a taxpayer, I am just outraged that the very first project, public project, that the village would accomplish is putting an unneeded baseball diamond in a park that desperately needs to upgrade the facilities that they give the people. There's over 100 people a day that come in and out of that park. It's the trailheads to the bug line. People come and they 6 o'clock in the morning. through there. There's the families that come. And the big problem is going to be when you have a rental on the shelter, because the shelter is for 90 people. On the big shelter. The other hex shelter will host 45 people. Now, you have 90 people using the rental. And the heaviest times for the rental are June and July. That's the two baseball ones. They're gonna be competing with those undeveloped facilities. And I know there's gonna be a little bit of talk on this later, so I'll save some of my comments for later. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move to approval of the meeting minutes from our July 10th meeting. Does anybody have any comments on the minutes from the July 10th meeting, any revisions? Somebody want to make a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. And somebody second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope, okay, got those done. Correspondence, does anybody have any correspondence to share? Nope. Anything on your end, Kathy, no? Nope. Okay, park supervisor report, Mike.
All right, in the past month, we did finish up the baseball season. We ended the season with 93 practices and 92 games. We worked on baseball field maintenance, replaced all the foul poles. Continued to perform weekly mowing, worked on repairs at Jane Stadler Park shelter. Been working on trimming trails at LCP behind the maintenance building. Continue to pull weeds at all the parks and facilities. We did remove the old baseball backstops at Lisbon Community Park. Still working on weekly shelter cleanings for rentals. Been working on stump grinding and restoring the areas for trees that we cut down, and I've been working on the 2025 capital budget.
I have a question for Mike.
Yep.
Mike, what sort of repairs were needed at James Dad?
Some of the downspouts and the gutters were ripped off from some of the snowstorms we had last year. So I just need to get some repairs done on that for now.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything for Mike? Okay, great, thanks, Mike. Okay, we'll move on to unfinished business. Community Fest wrap up. Is there anything more that we need discussion on that for? Anything to do with that?
We're kind of going through one by one, everybody's kind of saying what they thought worked well, what didn't work well.
Okay.
But I don't know if anybody else had anything else.
And this little time ran out as I recall.
Yeah.
Could we next year? The decision to hire the horses and the wagon provides is done. Could we be sure that the contract states very specifically so that the owner understands the hours of operation, meaning hours of giving rides for the families that attend, please? Because there was a misunderstanding on that.
Yeah, I would, Marlene had brought that up. Yeah,
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Just so that could be, thank you.
Yeah. Anything more, Tracy, from you on that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think I kind of started and said my piece, that, Kelly was next to me and then we kind of fell behind, and so I just didn't know if anybody else had anything.
Maybe since we're missing a couple, we can put it on like as a last agenda item for next time and see if anybody has anything. Any thoughts, Colleen, while we're talking about it?
Paula?
Yeah.
I have a comment.
Okay, great. I'm
To
just,
wrap up here.
okay,
We talked about the community fest, and we ran out of time because, as you remember, it took the whole meeting. And it was in the last 5 minutes of that meeting, after talking all the time through of the community fest, which we have been for just about every meeting for the last 6 months, the majority has been community fest dialogue. That I just began to say a few things and the meeting was adjourned. And that's why there was no discussion about the baseball diamond last. Because we just ran out of time and all I could do was sort a few things out. But on the community fest wrap up, I wanted to say that we had, as you know, a bumper crop of participants that came out. And I think we can all agree that the vast majority of the people who came were young families with children. And in fact, there were so many people that came out that we ran out of parking spaces and we used that upper field where they proposed to put the baseball diamond for additional parking. That field up there is used for a lot of different activities. And we needed that for community fest parking. We had over 150 cars that came for community fest. Now, I was parking each one of those cars and I greeted each one as they were coming out. And I tried to make a real good contact as a representative of the park committee. So I would venture to say this ties in back in a little bit with our future discussion down here on the baseball diamond. That land up there is not dead space. It's used year round. And skiing, the ski trails run through there. The high school uses it for lacrosse and field hockey practice. There's families that come and they play softball with their kids. When the rental people use the shelter, they use that field if it's in the fall for pickup.
Can we hold this over to that when we get to that part of the discussion? Okay, great. Okay, so we're done with community fest for now. Well, now we're on discussion for the LCP baseball diamond update, so.
So we, the board has, signed the contract. We have met with the, vendor that's going to be doing the work, Mike and I did. And, he's in the process of drawing the plans up, having the plans drawn up. He's expecting to have it done this fall. And, but I was hoping to have the timeline by today, but they have to, start from scratch because we don't have anything, really in any kind of, software that will help an architect. So they're, reinventing the wheel, but, they've done many of these. So that's where we are at this point on, the baseball diamond.
I've got a comment on that.
Go ahead.
The baseball diamond can very easily, if the village wants to build a new baseball diamond, to move it to Lisbon or Lisbon Oaks, where the soccer field is. There's ample room to build a very nice diamond there that will not disturb anything that's going on at Lisbon Park, which are used 7 days a week right now. And you can put that in, and then if the soccer field needs to be used, that open field that's up at Lisbon Community Park can easily be striped for a soccer field. It's big enough. They used to be able to run soccer fields up there. By putting this baseball diamond, it goes right next to where the volleyball courts are. You're going to lose the ideal spot for a shelter and bathrooms with a septic field. Now, prior. And I want to collect my thoughts here because I know time is limited here. For the last 5 years, we've been working on this long-term plan, as all of you know. And it was approved in January of 2021. And it was reapproved by the board, the village board, in December 22 of 2020. And it came back. And it lists all of the different needs that we need. Now, I don't think the village board fully realizes the gem of Lisbon Community Park. It's the trailhead of the bug line. And there's lots of people coming in and out of the bug line into the park. It feeds all of those subdivisions coming off of Lake 5 Road from Silver Spring down. With the opening up of Barnwood and Phillips Way, it goes into Lisbon Oaks subdivision. And there's a lot of bicyclists coming out. It feeds Woods Edge and Hartnett. And they all come up to the cemetery, and the one sidewalk that the village of Lisbon has is a gravel walk. Very, very dangerous. And the people hate it coming down on a bicycle. It's extremely dangerous. Every time it rains, they gotta it's a washout. They hate the pit toilets. They hate that bicycle or the sidewalk, the only sidewalk that the village has. They talk about the prairie flowers out there, the
We're off subject.
village board.
We're off subject.
This is critical. It's tied into the baseball diamond. The prairie flower, what they put in 20 years ago, is very unique. There's no other park like it. And with the combination of having the river and the wooded area and the prairie flowers, it brings not only photographers, there's a lot of photographers who come out. And my wife, who's involved in the Master Gardener program, her circle of friends, there's a lot of people who come to photograph the prairie flowers. It brings the birders out. All of this is a very critical thing of upsetting the overall feature of the park.
I think I hear what you're saying, Paul, and I appreciate your comments. The contract is signed. We're
They
moving
should
forward
move it,
with it.
well, they can move it to Lisbon. They can easily do that. They got a contract and
Okay, let me just point out that Lisbon was looked at, right? We did look at Lisbon Oaks and it was decided that it was a better
Who
fit in
decided that?
LCP.
how was that decided? It wasn't
Village.
decided here because when that motion was given in the park committee, they talked again, all back in May, almost the whole night about the festival. When it finally came up to talk about the baseball diamond, Kathy wasn't here to present what was going on and what the cost of it was or anything. And it was such a mumble jumble thing, the way it was presented those last few minutes, that I had to ask, what was the motion on the floor when you called for a motion? And it sounded just like, well, we're gonna roll it over to the 5-year plan.
And
It
It-
sounded like that, and I made it very clear, and when I talked to individuals, how they feel about that. Ed Nelson and Marlene and the like, they're so frustrated of what's happening with this baseball diamond here. And I say, let it go back to the board, the village board, let them consider talking to REI and putting in Lisbon Oaks on the soccer field. So you could easily upgrade the existing baseball diamond without any problem. Easily, you can do that if you pull a tape and you know,
that was looked at, and that is, we would have to put up a net for the basketball court behind it. There are limitations to doing that over there as well, sir.
you're gonna build a baseball diamond that's 245 feet, the way the plans are at Lisbon Community Park. You're 270 feet just to the basketball thing. All you need would be a net to come up if you got a real slugger. Now, the cost is unbelievable. It went from about a $35,000 project that it would cost the village, because the Junior Falcons were gonna pay the balance of it, 50-50 split, to 100% the way it's written, at $225,000 estimated budget. It doesn't make any sense. And then I know you're gonna talk about the toilets there because everybody hates the pit toilets. But the type of toilet that's proposed is not far reaching, far thinking. I worked 15 years in a recreation property management for the YMCA and the Great Blue Heron Girl Scout Council. And I know what kind of toilets those are. We developed a number of campsites and lodges and other facilities on 5 large campgrounds. And those proposed drop-in cement things are nothing but a glorified porta potty. And we have to think on the next 20 years.
Well, no decision has been made on any of that yet, so that is open for discussion.
I know that's
Okay,
why
so let's stay on topic though if we can.
I wanna see if we can agree on here and maybe take a vote.
Well, just understand that we recommend to the village board, whatever decision we make here is not gonna be a binding thing. We can make a recommendation to the board, but that's what
But it
will
should
happen.
have some weight. We've been putting countless hours into Lisbon, the village of Lisbon, and the park committee here. I've been working 6 years on this committee. We developed this very expensive. The town paid a lot of money.
We're gonna work on that again. We've got a survey to talk about. We've got other things to talk about, and this agenda item is for discussion only, Paul, so we couldn't even take any kind of vote on here for
In our
right now.
discussion, we can have it, if they, I don't know why they feel they gotta build a baseball diamond. But if they have to, they can build a brand new one on the soccer field and REI can easily take that bid. And I bet it'll come out cheaper than trying to grade the land and all of the tremendous upset for the people who currently use Lisbon Community Park. It's used heavy right now. And I don't think when that proposal was made, that people had any idea how many people are coming into that park 7 days a week already.
There,
And there's gonna be nothing but fighting for the little parking spaces. You know, there's 37 parking spaces at Lisbon Oaks right now. And along that long property line of Lisbon Oaks on the road, you can put another 20 cars in there. That's more than ample to park on the west side of Lisbon Oaks. You develop a new baseball diamond on the east side, you can put in a parking lot. There's so much land out there.
okay, understood. We're gonna move on to talking about this resident survey now, okay? Because we want to make sure we try to get through a little more of this.
There wasn't much discussion here.
Yeah, one of the concerns that I've had and others that I've spoken with was the fact that there might be lights put up at this ball diamond. And thank you for the letter. There was a letter that came
Mhm.
stating that there is no plan for that, and I would just like to state, the park closes at dusk. And I am very much opposed to ever having lights for a ball diamond at Community Park. And I speak for others who have that same opinion, so. I know we've talked about our parks being very family and child centered, and I love that. You know, my concern is if we ever do feel pressure to hold baseball, you know, an area and games for the older kids or even adults. But then will this discussion for lights come up, and are we gonna be hearing aluminum bats, you know, be hitting these baseballs? It's gonna be, it could be noisy. And again, I think that would take away from the nature and the natural environment that Community Park has been for me, in my opinion. So I appreciate that there's no discussion at this point of lights, and I'd like it to stay that we do not have lights. Even Merton, who has a beautiful 2 back-to-back ball diamonds, it's at Polworth Park. They do not have lights there either, and they function just fine. But I just think with the popularity of baseball and softball and T-ball leagues, there might be pressure to say, hey, we can expand and we can serve a lot more people if we allow lights. But that will, again, that would have to be, and I appreciate as a landowner close to the park that I was notified of that there is no plan for that now, because that's a concern.
I talked to other landlord, my neighbors that live there. There's nobody who's really in agreement with a baseball diamond is a good fit for right there. It just doesn't seem to work out on the master plan there. And of all of the people in the park that I interacted with, it's a surprise to almost 100% of the people who I said, you know, they're gonna put a baseball diamond here, but they're not gonna replace these pit toilets, and they're astounded at the fact. And I don't know if there's been any kind of comprehensive survey, if you've gone in, whoever made the proposal to move it there, that they talk to the people who actually use it. You need a long-term roadmap, and that's what this is right here. It's a long-term roadmap, and when you see all of this paperwork that we've been having over all of the years of trying to get things put together, and,
Well, that's what we're gonna move on to talking about now, Paul, to do a survey and see what the residents want. All the village residents,
but
not
I-
necessarily just the residents that live right across from LCP, but the whole entire village.
but the horse is out of the barn now. And unless there can be a little bit of a breather time to see other places that this ball diamond can be put in, because they went ahead and they got this contract done without hardly anybody knowing, even past park member, our committee members, when I talked to them about this, they're astounded that this came up.
Okay.
So I've got something.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Danette, you said that, you appreciated the letter that went out.
Yes.
Just, the letter was very specific, that it said that, the board has not approved lights in the current contract for the baseball diamond. But it does not say that we would never do that in the future. And they have talked about it briefly, but we have no quotes on the table. I have nothing that I brought forward for them to even discuss any further, but it has been touched on, lights at that field, but we do not have anything, which is what the letter says.
Right.
The current baseball diamond contract does not include lights.
Thank you, and the letter was clear about that.
Okay.
I appreciate that, but what I was stating is that I am
Against it.
opposed to there ever being lights there, so.
Okay. Fair enough. So let's move on to the survey now. Mike was kind enough to put this together for us. There was a park survey, I think that Sussex had done, you sort of based it off that. a little bit.
Yeah, and I kind of did some just searches on other communities, because obviously not all of them pertain to us with rec departments and
Right.
aquatics and all that kind
Right,
of stuff.
right.
So I kind of based this off a bunch of different surveys that I found, and obviously we can add, take out, or whatever. So do you want me to kind of just start from the top?
Yeah,
Kind of
please,
going
go ahead,
down?
Mike,
Okay.
yes.
So a lot of them do ask about demographics as far as age of kids. Most playgrounds are divided into two different age groups. Your 0 to 5, that's your smaller playgrounds, and then your 6 to 12. So it kind of would give an idea of, what age groups, what playgrounds would we be looking for, for amount of people in those age groups. And then just kind of going with the other ones is, the older kids from your 12 to 17, skate parks, and stuff like that, where they'd be more into that stuff, and then kind of like residents that would be in your childbearing years, and then those that are not gonna have any more kids, kind of, just to give it the demographics.
Yep. got it.
So a lot of them do ask communities if you do live in that one, because, with, however we advertise this, there might be other, because I know I live in Sussex, but, doing theirs, and that was the thing they asked, do you live in the community? And then just, if not, just because other people do use our parks,
Mhm.
that live in other communities. Just frequency on parks, and then a big one on here would be like, the list of parks used. It kind of gives you an idea of what parks you want to invest more of your time and money into, but not based on usage. A lot of them do ask, and I thought this was interesting about travel to parks. It gives you an idea of, future trails that may be needed, from subdivisions to get to, like, our Lisbon Community Park, the Bug Line, would probably be the easiest one to get to, because most of the other ones are in subdivisions where it's hard to put a sidewalk in somebody's yard, But it would give an idea of the usage and how they get there.
Okay.
And then it just kind of goes through of, you know, what you like to do when you go to the park. And then one other thing would be adding, upgrades.
One quick question, where you have, other, like you have picnic playground and you've got other, would there be like a freeform text
Yeah.
area, or would you give other choices?
No, it would be a freeform text area where they could type in, you know, whatever, just to give an idea of, might be a one-off, or it might be a bunch of people that are interested into that.
Yeah. What kind, like we heard with the pickleball today,
Pickleball, yeah. And I have that later on as an upgrade for, you know, what you'd like to see. I kind of just
Okay,
listed a bunch of stuff, and then I believe I did put the other on there also, yes, where they, you know, if there's something,
okay.
you know, off the wall that people are interested in. I did add one for improvements on our existing parks. You know, more events, more bathrooms, more parks in general, more rental spaces. Updated equipment, stuff like that. And then, so this one I thought would kind of help, number 9 for, you know, hearing about our parks and events. It might help for advertisements, you know, if Facebook is off the charts on something, then that's something that maybe invest more into that and less into roadside banners or whatever it would be. So did have the, number 10 for the activities. So that would be things to add, you know, just general sports kind of stuff, and see where people are interested in seeing in our parks. And that one isn't really park specific, it's more in general
Mhm.
for our parks. I guess we could figure that out later, you know. And then just a add of what people think are important to our existing parks. You know, preserving natural areas, flush toilets, upgrading playgrounds, adding more sports fields. We can always add other stuff to that too. Because we could always put other tab and let them fill out. And then future improvements. Added that on there, and then just finished up with a comments section for people to just generalize anything that wasn't based on in the survey.
Oh, I like it. So what, how would we distribute this, Kathy? How would this be sent out with what? There's an email and a tax bill, and how would we do that?
Could be put in the tax bill. It just would cost us a little more in postage,
Because we would want to make sure it got to every resident,
every household.
yeah, every household.
We could possibly do that and see what we can do about getting something back from them.
Does
We
anybody-
can put something in the tax bill that in the kind of the flyer information that they can go online, give them a link and they go online and just click
Mhm.
and fill it out. Not that we're maybe
Get a
doing
paper.
3 sheets of paper.
Mhm.
or a sheet and we get a fall flyer.
Be something you could advertise, like look for survey online, like if we had it out by then, like look for this survey, or I saw a lot of them did QR codes
Yeah,
where it would take
Scan
you
it.
right to the
Yeah,
survey.
I think we have a newsletter coming out in the next couple weeks. I don't know what kind of changes you want on here, or
I don't know, somebody have any strong thoughts on any that's
Well-
missing, or?
I think it's great that the residents will have input. But as it's stated here, we're asking where do people live? I mean, we know people come from Colgate, the Falls, Sussex, to use the park. What Menominee Falls did, I was recently at the farmer's market, and there was a gal there who was handing out a little sheet of paper with a QR on it, and she said, would you have time to fill out this survey? We're wondering about enhancing our parks here in the Falls. And I said, well, I don't live here. And she said, doesn't matter, we want everyone's input. So I took her little flyer home and I did it. And I appreciated that, because I also use some of the parks in the Falls. And again, because it might be helpful, you might hear more from others who are not right here. But I don't know how.
How do we find
I don't
them?
know how we would do that, short of if we wait until like spring when we have our Easter extravaganza, or would we wait until next year's community festival to hand something out? I'm just throwing it out there. We know people besides Lisbon use our parks.
You know what I think would be a good idea, and I'd be happy to do this here. I interact with the people in the park all the time. I'll give people the surveys like this here. When I interact with them, I wear my park committee little tag, you know, that we have, so they know I'm not just kind of a strange guy coming out. And I ask them informal questions about how they feel about the park. And what do they think they need? Because you're right, they come from all over the place. And there's lots of people that are coming in. I would be happy to hand them one of these surveys. And then we can have a box, a drop box at the park, that after they fill it out, they can just put it in their Dropbox. And other volunteers or board members or park committee can go to some of these other parks too. If they feel that there's gonna be activity there, like a baseball game or something of that sort, and do the same. But I don't know if the other parks have the same kind of daily traffic that we have at Lisbon Community Park. If there's no ball game going on at the time, there may be a mother with the kids, you know, on the playground like this. But honest to goodness, there's 100+ people a day coming in and out of Lisbon Community Park presently.
Would it be inappropriate or distracting if something like this survey would be there on election day? A lot of people come in to vote.
Can't do that.
There'd be,
Can't do that.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. But I thought, well,
Good question.
We should, really consider just maybe doing links and doing QR codes instead of these paper
I think so too.
things. And then, we also, before we do something like this, what kind of time frame are you looking at? I mean, we can't just keep putting out surveys and we have no deadline. I mean, if we're gonna look at doing this for spring, getting this ready for handing out at the, or doing something at the extravaganza, understand that we're not gonna get anything accomplished on your 5-year plan until after that.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. Doing this is gonna be, these two things will go hand in hand.
Right.
To merge a comprehensive plan with what the residents are asking for.
Yeah, most of them that I saw, they ran for like a 2-month window for
Yeah,
people to fill it out. And one of them, I believe it was Middleton out in Madison area.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they did it, but they, if you filled it out and put your email on it, you got entered to win one of 4 $25 gift cards
oh,
to entice people to fill out the survey. So
kind
I
of
thought that
cool.
was interesting.
well, I don't know. What do you think? Do we want to have this by year's end? We want to get this done for the fall?
Because it's gonna keep postponing this. And
Yeah,
And like, where we just said, this is going to affect this. and
Yes.
Granted, you have a 5-year plan, but as years change, 5 years ago, pickleball was hardly anything, and now it is a big thing. and,
right.
Like that gets stuff, obviously, that gets, dropped off. It's not as important as it used to be, because times change and other things that get put on it, and, stuff might get shown around a little bit in this survey. I think will make a.
So we can see about putting the survey. Is this all you wanted on the survey? I guess that's the discussion.
Yeah, well, I think we need
It's
to,
just most of the point.
I think so too. So what are you gonna suggest? Put it where?
I mean, if we can, get this together and put a link to it in our newsletter and then same link to it in our, tax bill. I don't,
I know in the past, there was talk about having community garden rental space, and for whatever reason, that didn't fly. I don't know why. But maybe that's something else that people would want considered again. Does anyone know why that did not?
I put it, the person came and spoke to me about it, wanted it, and then she wanted the Lisbon staff to help maintain and do stuff on this. So then they could give the food away to the Lisbon residents. So it wasn't like a rental spot like what Ed has in Waukesha.
Right.
It was actually, which is what I thought when she first started. And so I told her that, you know, she should come back with a plan and volunteers to do that work. I haven't heard from her since.
Okay, because I think, you know, having a rental spot for the person who wants to plant, that they take care of it. Not asking for town monies or.
Yeah,
people to take
But we
care of
just,
it.
I just don't know, do you have a spot in mind?
I'd have to defer that to Mike. I don't know, it'd have to be something very sunny.
I think the deer would wreak havoc on it.
Yeah.
Oh,
on a
The other
fence.
critters.
Yeah, I mean, I did on number 12. That is one of the things, community garden, but I mean, leave it, take it off.
Oh, there
Up to
it
you
is. I'm
guys.
sorry.
I mean, I'm in a subdivision and I can't keep the chipmunks and the birds from eating everything and the rabbits. I got fencing around certain areas and. I mean, I'm in a subdivision, I'm not in the wide open, that's just gonna have, deer coming through.
Yeah.
and-
The smorgasbord.
Yeah, we spoke about, I
If
spoke
there's
to some,
water access.
people that have this and they have, the cleanup afterward is horrendous.
Oh,
So you might rent out a spot, but they're gonna leave stuff there and then the parks guy has to come and clean all the stuff that they've left there in the fall so it's, I think it's a bigger project than just renting a spot, and we really don't have, acres of land that's just sitting there waiting for
right.
gardens.
You know, maybe the demand isn't there, you know.
Yeah.
People who live here typically have land on their own property. It's not like we have an
Right.
apartment building and it's 10 stories and you don't have your own little green space. So yeah, maybe that is one that people would, I mean, I would ask, please leave it on there. Maybe see if somebody, if we do get people who are interested. If not, then we know.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my opinion is, most lots are 3/4 plus acres. I mean, you could have plenty of room to have a garden at home,
Right.
That's my
Okay.
opinion, but I remember it was brought up, so I put it on there at one point.
No, I think it's a good idea to have it there just to, test the water, so to speak. Is there anything missing in this? Is there anything that should be there that's not? I know, I've heard people talk about dog parks before. There's a lot of
It's in
people
there.
with dogs that,
Yeah,
It's in there.
yeah.
number 12.
I mean, that dog park over in the show is. I know we've never probably had anything like that, but that's beautiful.
Yeah, Menominee Park.
Yeah,
was
yeah,
very close.
yeah, fantastic.
I don't, does anybody see anything missing off here, or, I mean, cause I think. To kind of gauge the temperature of the residents, I think this. I think it hits all the spots for me.
Do you want to,
It's kind of missing off.
do you want to wait before we move forward on this so you can get the rest of your
Yes,
regular
definitely.
committee?
Definitely,
So hold it over.
yeah.
Next
we'll hold
meeting.
it. So then that would bring us into our September meeting, so if we can approve it in the September meeting, can we get it in the newsletter and in the?
It'll be done. The newsletter will be gone.
Well, what does everybody feel about that? Because then if we hold it over and for Marlene and Ed and.
Can you send an email out to those that aren't here and just say we're, looking at put this in, is there anything that would be missing? And just that they get back to you, within a week or so.
I have to see where the turnaround is on getting the newsletter out, but
Yeah, if we could look into that, because I think this. I feel a little bit of, get this done sooner rather than later.
do you want to send it out? It might be more responsive. if we
Sure,
send it
I'll
out.
send it out, absolutely. Then whatever comments they send back. I'll send to you, we can update it and send it around to everybody then.
Do you want to email this to Paula? So she has something to email the 3 people.
Okay, even if there would be missing something, Mike's got color on a lot of these things where they could put in something else that we might have, missed. I mean, it's pretty general.
Yeah, I mean, I think all the important things to hit on, just. What your demographics are, I think that's huge, why you visit the parks, where you spend most of your time, I think this really hits on the big stuff that we need to know.
You could do concessions. So future park improvements, got a band shelter
that's a good idea.
concession.
Yes. Hey, can you add that on one there, Mike?
Yep.
Then you'll have a spot for just general comments at the end.
Yeah, I figured just put like a blank, typable space for comments and then people can write in whatever their ideas or.
All characters.
I mean, you had mentioned too that there was a enter to get a gift card. Do we want to consider something like that?
I thought it was interesting.
I
I
think-
only saw one and I was like, oh, that's
Do
a
that.
pretty good idea.
You could do that.
I think that's something you guys think is a good idea.
They have to put their name on it, so, or if they emailing it, somehow they have to
Yeah.
state who they are then, so it's
The-
not anonymous.
The
Yeah.
one I saw, it was put your email address in to enter to win, a gift card.
Okay.
It's, I'm assuming you just picked off the emails.
Yeah,
Yeah, we could do
I
that.
think it's kind of a neat idea.
What do you want it to be? How much?
$25. Something.
You could do Culver's, you could do.
Hey,
Pizza
quick
Ranch.
trip,
Do, yeah, the trip is out.
Pizza Ranch.
pizza
Yeah,
ranch.
Pizza Ranch
Yeah.
would be good, although it's not, where is that? in-
So that's good.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Right on,
Yeah.
in our business park. Right on town line.
I don't have-
Oh, yeah. It's Hamilton, you know where the Hamilton High School is? Yeah, it's the property just to the north.
Their
think
gamers
so.
get a lot of my money, right? So.
Yeah.
So Mike, is the ice rink used a lot or used?
When it's open, it is.
When is it? Okay, so
Mhm.
weather. depending
weather.
on-
Yeah, I mean, this last year was not a good year
Right,
for ice making. It was just so warm.
right.
And, I do have thoughts in my head for future use for that area that I think would make it more user friendly and more usable for us. But like I said, it's just thoughts right now. So,
The other day I went by a sign for another park that they had kind of what was happening in the park, kind of hanging on their park sign.
Mm.
So in winter, which is probably the, one time that people aren't sure if they should come in or not to the park, if we had a sign out there, ice rink open or closed.
Yeah.
And-
He does that now.
I just meant hanging on our new community sign.
The big A-frame one is much more visible and you can see it.
I just put on that side because the snow gets deep on the other side and to trek through it to change it.
Well,
Because we have to change, like, if we add water, like we try to do it in the afternoon when it's cold, getting the coldest. It has to be closed for the night. I
Mhm.
mean, just because if people go on it, they're gonna
Ruin
screw
it.
up the
Yeah.
Yeah.
ice, so. Like, I'll close it for the night and then if it's cold enough, I'll reopen it in the morning. So I mean, I'm changing those signs
So are you,
multiple times a week.
so are you putting that by the sign or by the entrance?
It's out on Lake 5 in Oakwood.
Okay,
And
all
then
right,
I also
cool.
have one down by the ice rink.
all right. Remind them if they didn't see the first one. Okay,
We're talking
that was just an
about
idea.
That area for like pickleballs, you were talking earlier about changing up the ice rinker type something.
Yeah,
Is that something that could be like pickleball during the nice months and ice skating during the winter with that?
Well, we need it for parking.
yeah.
I mean, we have people parking.
You've got a depression in there. And so you'd be playing pickleball on a ball
Yeah, I don't think,
in order. with
I don't think
the
it-
drainage
yeah,
center.
I agree with that. If
You were
we-
talking about doing something different with the ice rink.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was just an idea I had where, I think it would be easier for the area, so that whole parking lot that we flood for the ice rink. If we turn that into just a grass field where we, move the bounce houses or whatever into that area, because it wouldn't be as congested where we have it now. And then just do a temporary ice rink, kind of like what Sussex has, where it's got the sides and you put a liner in it and then flood it that way. It seems from talking to other people, those are slightly easier to maintain because ours gets so deep. Like in the middle of our ice rink, it's almost 16 inches and it goes to nothing, like out to the edges. So you get that the edges will melt on a sunny day, even though it's 20 degrees out, your edges will get soft and melt. And then, kids go down there and break it up and whatever, where if you have a liner with a rink, it's a solid 4 or 5 inches the whole way. So it's more consistent ice, so and the aspects of that, it's easier to maintain. Obviously it would cost money to buy the edges, the liner and all that stuff. But the rest of the year, it doesn't get used,
Right.
where if it was a grass field, you could move, it'd be flat area down there, which we don't have a lot of. Because of the sledding hill, so you can run electric over there for each side, at least have an outlet. Put a bounce house or whatever we want to put in there, but just alleviate, kind of spread it out, So just kind of a future thought.
Maybe just look into what the cost would be, so we have something to think about.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
work on it.
just. Right. All right, we're almost at 6. All right, so we're gonna move ahead with getting the survey out to the folks that weren't here tonight, get their input, and then the plan we're thinking will be to get that into the newsletter and the tax bill. And then hopefully have everything back by before the end of the year.
I don't have to get it back by then. I mean, the tax bill, I mean, yeah, we're not paying that until January 30th or December 31st anyway.
Yeah, but they're still getting the tax.
Yeah, they come out.
Or Christmas, so it gets
There's a
lost,
lot going on.
a survey like that.
Well, they're just, all they're gonna do is,
People
check
check out
out.
a little sheet of paper and hand it out like they did in the falls at the farmers market. I don't.
This is a good template, we can look at it and we can get some key ideas, so it's not a multiple page type of thing.
Right.
And make it easy for somebody just to go through and make a discussion. If we had more time and the rest of the people were here, of what we think are really the key things that we want to ask.
Well, everything on here, I think, is what we want to ask.
Well, if we're going to, having a real back, people get lost if it's too long. I like this here. I'm talking about the idea if we're gonna give it to somebody. And then we're gonna have a little Dropbox or some way.
It's online, it's not so.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not so bad.
No,
Yeah,
It's
online, it's just click,
different,
click,
but it's
click,
a
click.
different kind of dynamics of who's actually using the parks presently and what would they like to see in the parks.
Well, but that, again, this is meant for everybody, not just the people who are currently using the parks, right?
Exactly, but it
Okay.
gives you a little bit different insight is what I'm saying.
Sure.
of
I think we have a
what
little
are
piece of
actually
paper with a
there.
QR code on it with the website and everything, and that's what we go.
I like that.
so on the next agenda, we'll have do you still want the Community Fest wrap up?
No, we're done with that.
Okay, we'll have, I can update you again on where we
Yeah.
are with the timeline.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about the survey again?
I mean, if it's already
Sent out?
completed and done, I don't see
Okay.
why we would want to do that.
And then,
All right, should we
the
wrap up or
5-year,
something?
You just recap it.
Yeah, I think we could take Kelly and Ed and Marlene's verbal input at a meeting regarding. the-
And we can
But we're
see-
talking about right now having that done before the next meeting, like getting their input. Sending it to them, let them look at it now and do that all before the next meeting.
And then their replies would then be sent to us, the rest of us?
Yeah.
We would see that,
Yeah.
okay?
So
All right.
email.
Maybe keep it in there. Some of
Yeah,
us might
let's-
have questions
Yeah,
about it.
we'll keep it in.
okay,
I mean, yeah.
the
First, I
5-year
would-
plan, do you want to keep that in? You want to start,
I think we should,
because,
Which.
the 5-year plan, keep the 5-year, yes, keep the 5-year
And Mike,
plan.
what
and
did you say?
I would just say personally, I would not want to rush this process. As far as leave the survey out there long enough to get responses and then give the committee time to.
Well, let me ask this, but what would be a response that we would say was a good response? Like how many people would we looking for to return this? If we send it to 10,000 people, if we get 2,000, is that a lot? If we get 2,000, that's a poor response. Do we have any idea what is?
Honestly, I don't know.
yeah, well, so you'd really be sending it to, 3,700 households.
Right.
And so you'd only get one response per household.
Well, but
possibly.
if we're handing out. If we're handing out QR codes too and putting QR codes, we're gonna be getting from more than just the 3,700 that we're
Mhm.
sending to as well.
But I don't think we're gonna get 3,700. I
I'm
bet
not
there were-
saying that we are,
Yeah.
I'm saying,
But you
If
have
we got
different
1,500,
mix,
that would be
you're right,
huge.
The people who are the resident, but it should be heavy on the residents because they're the ones whose property tax are being
right,
tapped into to pay for our parks.
Mhm.
So they should have first consideration of what they would like to see with their taxes.
Yep.
So being in the property bill, the tax bill would be a decent idea. And then our newsletter is a decent idea.
Yeah.
But also the other people who use the park. That's why I say some way you're gonna need to reach
We
out
wanna,
because we got a lot
Yeah.
of people coming in to use the park.
so let's see what the rest of the group says, we'll
Try to
decide
get
not
it
to
in.
make a decision right now. We'll see where that stands, if we need to bring it back to the next meeting and wait and not worry about the end of the year, I'm just, you know, we'll do it that way. Is everybody okay with that?
so we'll hold off on putting it in the newsletter.
Yes,
And bring them forward, let them talk in the meeting.
yes,
And everybody will have more time to chew on it.
yeah,
And then
see what other, see if you can.
see where we could put QR codes and the,
Mhm.
because we wanna, if we do like a Survey Monkey or something, you're gonna want everybody pushed to the
Yeah.
online, not a paper copy.
Definitely, I think we're all in agreement with that.
But you just don't want to extend it too long where people forget about it, or then you have to also like put out, fill out the survey by, such and such date, because then if we push it off, it's gonna kind of push this off. too.
Right,
Most of
And
them have
this is
deadlines.
the time that we have really to start working on this, because we don't have the Easter egg thing, we don't have.
We're not busy.
It's our slow time.
Okay.
Do you anticipate that some of this installation and preparation for the ball diamond at Lisbon Park will be starting? Like it says it's gonna be completed in the fall.
Mhm.
So is it starting like shortly? I mean,
We don't have the drawings yet and the timeline, so I couldn't tell you, but he expected it to be done this fall.
so.
It doesn't take that much time.
And the concerns that Paul raised, they've been heard, but they will not be acted on, is it the understanding?
Yeah.
The ball diamonds are going in at.
The
Lisbon
ball
Park.
diamond,
That's a
yeah,
done
it's
deal.
just one ball
Just the
diamond,
one
yes. It's going in. We have a contract, we've met with the vendor. We've figured out placement. They're just giving us a drawing and getting the timeline put together. So
Kathy,
we've already ordered some things.
why isn't there a possibility that, is it REI who's given the contract? to?
No, KEI.
Oh, KEI, they couldn't roll it over into Lisbon Oaks?
That's
with
not
the-
what the board wanted. The board wants it at Lisbon
but
Community
the-
Park.
The board has absolutely no idea what goes on,
The-
and
Come on, there are board members. They
I
live here
know
too.
there are board members, but I wonder how often
Okay,
the board.
Our decision that we make here is a little pipsqueak of what goes through. and
It
whether-
should
I
be.
mean, I voted
It's just a
today,
recommendation.
You got mad at me because I
okay,
I motioned it, but I was comfortable with it.
But the way it
Otherwise, I
was
wouldn't have
explained,
motioned.
you, and
okay, Paul,
Okay.
we're gonna see if anything else needs to be added to a future agenda.
You know, we have these playground structure reviews, should this be
Yes, it
discussed like
should
at
be.
the next meeting?
Yes, thank you. I was gonna say that and I
All right,
kind
thank
of
you.
got moving on. Okay, anybody have any future agenda items? Nope. Can somebody make the motion to close us?
I'll make a motion. to
Second,
adjourn.
okay, all in favor? Any
I-
opposed? Okay, and we are out at 6:07.
Paula, real quick.
Yes.
When you asked for the cost, did you want the cost of just the ice rink or like that whole project as a whole? As far as possibly, Redoing that.
If you're gonna get numbers, get them all, and then we can just have something to have some discussion on.
Stop there, quick.